And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network dedicated to covering IU women's basketball. This is our 177th episode recorded on the evening of Wednesday, December 23rd, 2025. I'm your host, Kathy Amos, joined by my co-host, Jeff Marlow. And today we're going to be talking about three different games for you. Our win over Gonzaga, 76-72. Our loss to Iowa State, 106-95. Both of those games were played down in Fort Myers. And then our win earlier tonight at home against Western Michigan, 53-71. With those three games, that takes the record to 8-1 as we head into conference play. And Jeff and I will also be talking about our first conference opponent, which will be Illinois, and we'll cover them towards the end of the show. But first, we'll start our show with our banner moment like we do every show. And Jeff, for me, even though I didn't actually get to see this game, I only listened to Austin's call on the radio, the same with the Iowa State game. I'm going to go with in the fourth quarter in the Gonzaga game, a minute 28 into it, Maya Makaleski hit a three-pointer that ended a very long three-point drought for her. I think she was at that point something like 1 for 13 or 1 for 14 on the year. And we know coming out of high school she could hit a three. And we were like, oh, maybe this will open things up for her. And it did, at least in the Iowa State game, where she went on to hit 3 of 4 three-pointers against Iowa State. So that for me, it was our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And our banner moment is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, the presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network. Home Field is constantly releasing new schools or updating its products for schools in their existing line. So you're bound to find anything for you or anyone else in your life who loves great collegiate gear. Not only do you get great quality apparel, but you are also supporting an Indiana-based business that has its roots in the Kelley School of Business. Go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. Again, that promo code is HOME23 for 15% off, and the website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. All right. Next, just a little bit of news. Shea Chesky, after her week down in Fort Myers, we had 3 games there total. Shea Chesky made the Big Ten honor roll of the week. In those 3 games in Fort Myers, she averaged 29.3 points per game, while she shot 57.4% from the field. So congratulations to Shea and a well-deserved honor. That's all the news I really had, Jeff. So I'll kick it over to you for your Marlow's musing. What do you have for us today?
I'm going to keep it kind of short, Kathy, but overall, I called a good week for IU basketball. We went down, and we talked about this one on the last podcast, but went down, beat Florida Gulf Coast on a road game, then beat Gonzaga in a neutral site game that I think will come back and look pretty good come tournament time. Played a really good Iowa State team, fairly tough, got behind and never really could get back real with striking distance, but didn't get blown out. And so I think when we go back and look at these 3 games, and then the win tonight over Western Michigan, so you go 3 out of 4 in this stretch, and I think that's going to bode well. Right now, our net was hanging somewhere around 46-ish. I think that's partly to show from some of the non-conference. A lot of opportunities in the conference schedule to really improve that net. But I think it's what I've liked so far is we've really come through this stretch. And again, I keep hating that we compare to last year, but I just really feel a whole lot better about where this team is right now in terms of their tournament resume and the psyche of the team going on around them. And so I really like this stretch that we had here. Now we got to be able to take it in Saturday against Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. So, well, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and jump into our game recaps? Just for folks listening in or now or later, just the full transparency, neither Jeff nor I were able to watch the Gonzaga or the Iowa State games. Mainly because it was on Flow Hoops, and I at some point I have to say no to all the streaming services, and this was one I chose to say no to. And it was
and the ridiculous price they charge.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they bumped it up to a whole $30 per month with no option for a trial or anything like that. So again, I did listen to the game, Jeff, so we'll probably be going mainly off of numbers here. So yep. I don't know if we want to talk recap and numbers all at the same time and just kind of do a 2-for-1 section here while we talk about Gonzaga. Does that sound okay to you?
Play it by ear.
Yeah, go for it. So why don't you go ahead and start us off? Anything jump out to you from that game?
Yeah, you kind of jump out that, down one at the half. Indiana led at 19-18 at the end of the first quarter. They were down 36-35 at the half, had a nice third quarter, had a really nice third quarter, was able to come out and establish, at least for this game, a decent, a kind of a run. They were up 5 at the end, no, 6 at the end of the third quarter, and then held on for the 4-point win. But I like the idea that they were able to kind of put together. It wasn't the best first half, but they put together a nice third quarter.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. I think that for me, it was the same thing. What I kind of picked up on the name of the game here was that third quarter, that where we really stood out. The one thing that really jumped out to me and some of with the little bit of notes that I was able to take was just our defensive rebounding. Again, with just allowing a lot of offensive rebounds. We gave up 16 offensive rebounds that led to 22 second chance points for Gonzaga. In my opinion, I think that was, lucky that we were able to still hang on. And I think that's actually why we were so close in this game, because of allowing so many second chance points. So that was some of the things, listening to the game feed again, that kind of jumped out to me was, yes, that third quarter again. And this is something I think we've seen of Coach Morin's teams over the years, is that it seems like after, halftime, they come out, make some nice adjustments, and start really pouring it on often in the third quarters. Not always, but I think this is one of them. But the thing that jumped out to me the most is that at some point they're going to have to figure out how to hit those defensive boards a little bit better and not give up 16 offensive rebounds and 22 second chance points. What else kind of jumped out to you? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt you. Keep going.
Nope, I was done. I was just saying, hey, what else jumped out to you?
Well, but the flip side of that, though, is, you talk about that with second chance points. We outscored them in the paint 40-28. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they had double the second chance points, but to a certain degree, the game was won on points in the paint, because we had a 12-point advantage, 40-28 on points in the paint. We win by 4 with that, and then I wanted to point out too, 11 turnovers. That I can live with 11 turnovers. And I think it's going to be kind of a recurring theme as we go through these games. We're going to recap. They got the turnovers under control. When this team can get the turnovers under control, it's any team's going to be, but this team just flows so much better.
Yeah, I agree as well. So, anything else, Jeff, that kind of jumped out to you from this game that you want to touch on? But I agree. I think the turnovers was really nice. The points in the paint were really nice. I think, again, it seemed a lot more balanced in terms of scoring too. I mean, we'll talk about more individuals here a little bit later, but we did have five players, including Maya Makaleski, come in and give us, double-digit points off of the bench. So it was just nice to see in this game, and at least for the most part, it was fairly balanced scoring, I thought, for the team.
Yeah. So do you want to talk numbers here, or you want to save it for
another second? Let's go for it. I've already been jumping into the numbers anyway, so why don't you go first?
Yeah. and here, those, this is kind of tonight, I'm going to come back to this. Did not shoot the three well against Gonzaga. We were 5 for 20 for the game, 25%. And I think for this team to really feel comfortable that you're going to be able to win games, consistently with this group has to be a 33-35% shooting from the three, especially now that Big Z's out. And right now they're giving the classic lower body injury. So who knows how long she's out.
Right.
But, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things we do to replace that a little bit. But as far as team numbers, I wanted to go with that. And then there was really nothing, I thought, defensively. They had some nice numbers defensively. I mean, 7 of 9. They held Gonzaga for 7 of 19, but and then also they did hold Gonzaga to 39% shooting from the field overall. So, but we got to shoot a little better.
Yeah, I agree, especially from 3. The other thing I'm starting to kind of look at here are some of our, our layups. And again, and we'll talk about that probably a lot later in the Western Michigan game, at least for me, something that just jumped out, but it seemed like we were missing a lot of close baskets again, that I think is kind of contributing to some of that. And in this game, we were 12 of 23, according to, oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. They have the icons backwards on the stat sheet that I'm looking at. So, but it was the wrong one. But anyway, for us, we were 17 of 26. So again, we had a lot of close looks at the board there, but just didn't quite get them all in. So that was something that jumped out to me as well. I was going to also touch on the turnovers. And at least in this game, it seemed like we held our fouling a little bit to the minimum, other than Kalasova, who had 4, but at least we only had 16 as a team, and only put them on the line 16 times. So I thought that was some of the kind of the positives that jumped out to me off of the page.
Yeah, and we shot 15 and 19 at the line. So, you know, that we made more free throws almost. They only had 16. We made 15. So that's a good stat.
Yep, I like to see that too. Those are some of the numbers from me, Jeff, but did you have anything else?
Nope.
All right. So next, do you want to recap or do you want to go into game ball?
Let's do game ball.
Let's do it. Okay. So for those of you watching on YouTube,
thank you.
You'll see a ticker at the bottom of the screen. So up before these 3 games, we had Lene Beaumont leading the way with 3, Shea Chusky with 2, and Big Z with 1. So 3 players have earned our game ball this year in a 3-2-1 kind of fashion, Jeff. But this one was, again, might be a pretty unanimous one. But who did you have for your game ball for the Gonzaga game?
I'm going here with Shea. I mean, she shot 10 for 18, 3 of 6 from downtown, 1 of 1 at the line. She had 24 points on the day. She had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. So I'm going to go with Shea Chesky here on the game ball.
Yep, we'll make that easy, nice and unanimous. It was same for me. I mean, for the obvious reasons. And like I had mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, she was on the Big Ten honor roll for a reason. So this was definitely a game that contributed to that game. So congratulations to Shea. That will take her to her 3rd game ball as of right now for the year. But let's move on to the Grace Berger hardest worker, Jeff. Again, for those of us, you watching on YouTube. Shea Chusky has 2, Big Z 2, Lene Beaumont 1, and Phoenix Stotine has 1. This one, I think you could go to a number of different areas, Jeff, but who jumped off your page here from what you heard for hardest worker?
Obviously, one thing I should point out is, to me, in this Gonzaga game really showed that as Lene goes, this team kind of goes. Yes, Shea's putting up some good numbers, big numbers. But I really feel like Lene is really kind of the catalyst for this team. And Lene had a decent game, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. But I thought about her a little bit. Big Z had 10 points and 8 rebounds, 3 assists as well. But I'm actually going to go here. I'm going to go with Maya Makaluski. Maya Makaluski, in 20 minutes off the bench, had 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. So I'm going to go with the freshman here for the hardest worker.
Yeah, Jeff, we're going to make this unanimous again on this one as well. That's exactly who I was going to, for all the reasons you said. Like I mentioned in my Hoosier Proud banner moment, she finally hit that 3. Now, she was only 1 of 5, but, she's definitely known as a 3-point shooter. And I love the fact that she's been able to keep shooting, but the fact that she came in off the bench and finally gave us some nice, as you like to call them, cricket numbers off of our bench, and definitely led our bench and even outscored, one of our starters in this case. It was really great to hear that. I won't say see in this case, but to hear that from her. So we will give Maya Makaluski, I won't be able to say that one day without stumbling over myself, her first hardest worker of the year award today. All right, Jeff. Well, with that, let's move on to the second game they played down in Fort Myers, which was their first loss of the season. That was the Iowa State game. Very little defense played in this game. The score 106-95. Yeah, on either side. That's right. Not just us, even 106, but even being able to put up 95. Iowa State definitely wasn't trying too hard, I guess, to stop us. I don't know. So anyway, Jeff, what kind of stuck out to you besides some of the obvious with the total scores?
other than the track meet that disguised itself as a basketball game. Um, you know, again, I say kind of in my music, I like the fact that we didn't get blown out of this game. It was tied at the end of the first quarter. We were actually only down 3 at the half, and then 7 at the end of the third quarter and lose by 11. So it was a little bit, kind of a death by 1,000 cuts in terms of the overall margin. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the others probably when we get to the numbers. But I was happy. This was a game I feared that could be a 20, 25 point loss just because of how good that we thought Iowa State was.
Yeah, and after I heard Big Z was going to be out, we already know Audi Crooks down low. We talked about her in the preview. I thought she was going to be hard to handle anyway, but then now asking Noyan for the start, and then you have Wiseman as well, and Odiname came in and even tried to give some minutes. I just think it was just too much. I mean, Audi Crooks ended up with 47 points. Now, the one thing is, at least she did have to play more minutes. She's only been averaging around 20. She ended up playing 33 minutes. So I feel like at least on the year, we had to make her work a little bit harder. But anytime you let anybody put up 47 points, I mean, that I think says a lot, but I don't know that many teams are going to have people to stop her, but without Big Z, I think that was just a big hindrance that we weren't going to overcome in that. The other thing that stuck out to me again in this game was the fouling. And I just think that, at some point we're going to have to figure out how to not foul. And earlier on in some of the games, we were seeing some adjustments where they maybe foul early and then they quit. But again, in this game, we had 2 players foul out, 1 with 4 fouls, 2 more with 3. We ended up with 25 team fouls, putting Iowa State on the line here 28 times. I heard coming into the game tonight, Jeff, an interesting stat. We were in something like the 200th in terms of fouling so far in the country. So
would be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we talked about earlier in the year to put a pin on, and now it's something to me that is definitely a concern, especially with Big Z out. They're going to have to figure out, again, early not to foul, and I think they did that a little tonight, but not in this game. And I just think that ended up being a hindrance. But overall, I just think, Iowa State had the talent. But like you said, it wasn't like we got blown out at all. It was 11 point. And each quarter, if you look at the quarter by quarter numbers, we played them really close. They outscored us, like you said, 3, 4, and 4. I'll take that for a young team playing against a pretty veteran team ranked in the top 10. So yeah, overall, I was pretty pleased with what I could hear about this game. We just couldn't stop a couple of Iowa State's players. Well,
and you look at the fourth quarter. Again, I kind of into a number thing here, but IU shot 10 for 16, 63% in the fourth quarter. That's really good, and probably should be enough to get you over the hump. Problem was Iowa State shot 12 for 14, 86%. So neither team was missing much in the fourth quarter.
No, as evident by the score, those were definitely the highest scoring, 31-27 in that just that fourth quarter alone. So sometimes we'll see that even at a half sometimes in some of the women's games, it feels like. So yeah, that was a good point.
So let's hit some of the numbers.
Yeah, that sounds good. Jeff, you want to kick us off? What stuck out to you?
Yeah, again, shooting. Overall, obviously shot 51%. This is the number I'm really getting to. 8 for 25, 32%, which I just mentioned. We need to have that number closer to a 33, 35% probably for wins. But if you take Maya Makaluski out of that mix, she was 3 for 4. Everybody else is 5 for 21, which is back to where basically we shot against Gonzaga and similar to what we shot tonight. So it is becoming a little bit of a concern that if somebody's not hot, that we aren't getting consistent shooting right now. And we're going to talk about Shea a little bit, but Shea, for example, was only 1 for 6 from downtown against Iowa State.
Yeah, Shea definitely got her points in other ways, which I'm quite sure we'll be talking about here shortly. But other team numbers that jumped out for me, the turnovers on both sides, to be honest, I think were another representative number of how there was little defense played. 8 turnovers for us and only 9 turnovers for Iowa State. So in theory, you could also say that both teams just took care of the ball really well, but it just felt like there was a really fast pace this game and neither team maybe they just never could get their defense set, but very low turnovers in this game. And then the other place, again, not surprising, 47 points from Audi Crook, but even in total, they outscored us 62-34 in the paint. And clearly to me, that was the biggest number that was so crooked between the two numbers where I think really contributed to this loss. Anything else,
but then we outscored them from the bench. One of the few times we're going to talk about where our bench outscores them, the other team. We outscored them 18-10. The other number I'm going to point out here before we get into the game ball and the hardest worker, I would assume, is IU points per possession, 1.30. 1.30. And they lost by 11 because Iowa State's was 1.43.
Yeah.
That's just wild.
Yeah, it was too bad that I bet this was a fun game to watch if you are an offensive-minded kind of person. So I don't think I have any other numbers, Jeff. I think we hit on the bulk of them. So why don't we jump into our game ball? So we had Shea Chusky in the last one. Like I mentioned, that gave her third game ball. But who for this game do you want to give yours to?
She got, I'm pretty sure it was a career high. 38 points, 12 of 21 shooting, 13 of 14 at the line for Shea, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. She did foul out, but to me, just Shea, there's a no-brainer here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you the only negative you can find is that she fouled out. I think that's easy to make this a unanimous and give her her 4th game ball for the year. Let's go ahead and move on quickly then to the hardest worker. Jeff, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I thought a little bit of here. I thought about Maya Makaluski. I thought about Phoenix Stowtime. Even gave some thought to Nevaeh Caffey. But I'm going to go here, and I do want to point. I will say this: Odessa Noyan, 8 points, 8 rebounds in 26 minutes, getting her first start of the year. I kind of like. I thought about her too. But I'm going to go here with Lene, 19 points, 7 of 14 from the field, 5 of 5 at the line. She had 4 rebounds, 4 assists. So I'm going to go with Lene here.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too, Jeff. I think you could go in any number of ways on this one too. Lene sounded like, again, she probably was out there helping a lot on the floor in terms of leadership because she was out there for 36 minutes. And, she, if we're talking about foul, she only had 1. So at least that was, a positive for the team too. So we'll give that to Lene Beaumont, and that gives her her 2nd hardest worker game ball, or hardest worker award. So, All right. We're on a marathon here, Jeff. We're going to go back into game recap, and we're going to do our 3rd game of the night, which is the game that was just played earlier this evening, where Indiana beat Western Michigan at home 71-53. So, Jeff, maybe I'll start us off a little bit here. I thought, because I know you missed the beginning of the game since it was such an early start, I barely did as well, but that first quarter for me is what was, again, kind of concerning. Again, Big Z was out, so Odessa Noyan got the start, but it was just a really slow start in that first quarter in terms of just missed shots. I didn't write down, I didn't have a chance. Maybe I can pull it up here real quick on what we actually shot in that first quarter. It looks like we ended up shooting 6 of 15. Yeah. And it just felt like a lot of those shots, again, were just really close to the basket, bunny shots that we were just missing and not quite making. And then on top of it, I thought we had a lot of fouls. And this is where I'll say we fouled early. We had 4 fouls by the first media timeout. So somewhere around the 4 minutes left. Nevaeh Caffey had 2 of those within 4 minutes. After that, I felt like they really cleaned it up. And in fact, after that, they only committed 6 more team fouls on the game. So if, we can just turn that first quarter around and not foul so much, get a few more of those shots, I think this is even more lopsided than the score would show. But, again, they came out and they won every quarter after that. So we lost that first quarter, 20-15. won every quarter after that, which is here's a fun stat for you. Western Michigan only scored 11 points in the last three quarters, 11 in the second, the third, and the fourth. And we outscored them in all three of those and really just kind of extended that lead each quarter thereafter. So came back, had the lead at half and kept going. So, slow start or whatever, but they really righted the ship, in my opinion here, really, really quickly into that second quarter, not even waiting for the second half. And I thought that second half looked really nice. So those are some of my overarching observations. So from what you got to see of the game, Jeff, and what you see in the stats, is there anything else that jumps out to you from that game?
Again, from what I saw, which was mainly about the last 13, maybe 14 minutes, when I got home, they were kind of hanging on to a 2-point lead. Western Michigan, I think, had kind of made a little run in the third quarter, got back into it. But I thought we did a nice job, because to me, this is the kind of game where last year they found a way to kind of, just really kind of go into a shell and not recover from it. And tonight they were able to kind of, as you said, extend the lead out. The other thing, again, I know we didn't play everybody double-digit minutes, but we had 9 players that played 6 or more minutes, and I can live with that. I can live with that. I am not expecting 9 people to play double-digit minutes. But I like the fact that we went a little deeper into the bench tonight. And I know Big Z's out, and that takes away one, that's somebody else getting a little bit of rotation. But she's still going to play double-digit minutes. So that's the thing I kind of like seeing out of this. And, again, right now, I think my biggest concern was I looked through these. And I know we talked a little bit about the Gonzaga game, is right now kind of the anomaly. Against Iowa State, we only had 2 players in double figures. Now, Nevaeh Caffey had 9, and Noyen and Makaluski had 9, and Stoketine and Noyen had 8. Not bad balance. But tonight, again, 2 players in double figures. So I'd really like, and I know it's harder when Big Z's not playing, but we need somebody maybe to be that third double-digit scorer right now who can get to 12 or 13. That's kind of what I saw tonight, too.
Yep. I would agree with that. It was definitely Shea and Lene, again, carrying a bulk of the load. But at least we did have a number of players who scored, including Odiname off of the bench, got her first bucket. So shout out to her as a Hoosier. So that was nice to see that. But yeah, to your point, Faith Wiseman did end up playing almost 10 minutes. But a lot of that was probably in fact due to Big Z being out. Unfortunately for Faith, again, she's just not, contributing a whole lot in terms of offense. It only had 2 rebounds in that game. And so it's just something I think she just needs some more time in development here to be able to really contribute some good numbers and good minutes, because I'm afraid once Big Z comes back, we're going to see her back into the bench and probably not getting those, which would you expect. But hopefully, she'll get, if she ends up getting some time again like this against Illinois, she'll be able to turn those into a little more offensive production.
Yeah, and the other thing here is, we talk about Lene being kind of the catalyst. Again, Lene did not shoot it very well tonight. Now, the thing I'm beginning to like about Lene, and I've said this, and everybody knows I've been a big Lene fan, she doesn't seem to let that affect her overall game, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It talks a lot to her where she's at in terms of her basketball IQ and her mentality of, knowing, maybe it's not falling for me, but she knows how to affect the game in other ways, which is always great to see. Jeff, you want to go ahead and jump into the numbers, and we can tell the rest of the story of the game maybe through that.
Yeah, and I know we had to do it to win, again, because we end up winning by 18. But I do have a concern against a MAC school that Shea Chesky and Lene Beaumont have to play 34-plus minutes.
Yeah, me too.
That's a little concerning. But, again, I realize you got to win the game. But the other numbers I kind of thought were pretty decent. Kadlikova played 23. Noyen 28, Caffey 27. So again, I like those parts of the numbers because that means we are getting those other players in the game. But I did want to point out Shea and Lene played a lot of minutes again tonight.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Jeff. And I have to say, Caffey again had to sit quite a bit in the first half since she got those 2 early fouls, which probably contributed a little bit. But I do feel like she is more willing to play Stotine and Journey Kiaku, although Kiaku ended up with only 6 minutes. But especially Stotine, I think she's feeling pretty comfortable with playing her that good backup role. So one thing for me, again, like we got I mentioned this in the Iowa State game tonight. We were a little bit flipped. So even without Big Z, we outscored them 42-26 in the paint. And again, that number that I was talking about earlier that I wanted to jump on here was it was a lot of layups, which is nice. We had 18 total, but it took 36 to make them. So 50% on what, they track as layups in the stat cast here, to me, is just something they have to clean up, because it just felt like that from the beginning. They just felt like they were, I don't know if they were rushing or what was going on, but it felt like there were a lot of easy point blank, sometimes even wide open under the basket shots that they were just missing tonight. So hopefully this was an anomaly and I won't have to talk about missing layups again.
Back to shooting for me, 5 of 20 from beyond the arc, 3 of 11 in the first half on that, so 25%. And overall, only shot 43% for the game. So shooting overall tonight, Kathy, was just not a good number, but they found a way to win by 18. So I want to give them that. I do want to point out again, you talked about points in the paint, but we won points off turnovers, 16-10. We got second chance points, 16-11. So we were doing some decent things, but I think the frustration part probably was really in the first quarter, where they got behind and probably bled a little over into the second quarter while they got back to getting a lead. And so, again, the slow start issue, a team like Western Michigan having a lead on them at the end of the first quarter, I think that's what gives concerns to people. I try to remember that it's a 4-quarter game and not worry too much about the first quarter only, but there are going to be some games in the Big Ten that you may not be able to come back from if you're down 8-9 points already right off the bat.
Yeah, that's my concern with the slow starts too, Jeff, having that at home, and now it was after a long weekend and whatever, but I mean, we're Wednesday into it. There should be no reason for this slow start again, in my opinion, coming out. Western Michigan just seemed like they were ready to play in that first quarter, and we just seemed a little slow. The only other number just to point out again is our turnovers. So really good. You already mentioned the points off of them, but we did hold our turnovers to 8, which any day of the week and then some. I will take 8 turnovers. So Jeff, for me, that's all the numbers I had. So let's go ahead and jump into game ball. So Shea Chesky, as we mentioned, won our last 2 now. She is up to 4. So Jeff, who do you have for the game ball in this game?
Let's make it 5. Shea, 26 points. And again, her shooting has been, talking about everybody else not having a good night shooting. She was 12 for 17. 2 of 5 from beyond the arc. Interesting, in this game, she didn't get to the free throw line at all after she lived at the free throw line against Iowa State. But she had 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals in those 36 minutes. The only negative I saw for Shea tonight was 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I agree. And to the free throw line, so we are making it unanimous, but to the free throw point that you had, we only shot 14 as a team, and I thought we were driving a lot. They just, either weren't fouling, they just weren't calling a lot, because either outside of that, first 5 minutes or whatever in the game, they really just weren't blowing a whole lot of fouls. So, and I didn't think it was egregious. Like, I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't call that. They didn't call it. It just didn't seem like either team was super physical with each other down low. So anyway, with that, let's move on to Grace Berger, hardest worker. Jeff, who do you have in your mind for this game? Because again, I think you could go a couple of different ways, but what are you thinking here?
I will say this. First time I really kind of thought of Nevaeh Caffey seriously. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, but she did have 2 turnovers. I thought a little bit about Lene here with 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists and a steal. I thought about first off, my first thing, I kind of looked at Kadlikova, but then she didn't really do much besides she had 8 points, but no rebounds. She did have a block and 2 steals. And then after that, but I'm going to go here again. I'm going to make the chance. I'm going to take the opportunity here for somebody we haven't talked about much this year. Odessa Noyan, 7 points, not a lot of points, but she had a team high 11 rebounds in 28 minutes. So I'm going to go with Odessa Noyan for the hardest worker.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of those, Jeff. I was looking at Odessa. I was leaning towards Nevaeh just because I thought she did a nice job, again, as a freshman. She came out, 2 early fouls, like I said, within those 4 minutes. She ended up with 9 points, but it took her 4-11 shooting. But there are some things, again, I just feel like as a freshman, she probably can work on. So, for example, there's a great, I can't remember who stole the ball, but it might have been her, but she was leading the fast break, and the clock was running down at, I think, at the end of maybe the third quarter. She had Lene wide open on the right side wing for a 3, but you could tell by the time she crossed that half court line, she was driving the ball, and she did. She put her head down, she drove the ball, and she got blocked, and the ball went back to Western Michigan. So some of those things I think will hopefully she'll get cleaned up. But I'll go ahead and agree with you here, and we'll give that to Desanoyan. Again, keep getting her second start and being able to contribute double-digit rebounds and almost getting a double-double as well in her second start is really good for us. So that will be her first Grace Berger Hardest Worker Award. Okay, so let's see. Let's move real quick. I'll just cover these real quick, Jeff, since I know we are going long tonight with all the reviews. But around the Big Ten, number 14, Tennessee, and number 3, UCLA played the Sunday. I missed getting these updated. I don't know if you know who won that game. I feel like
UCLA won.
Yeah,
UCLA
that's
won.
right. That's right. And then Washington and USC played, and they playing this Sunday, or they did play? Boy, I clearly should have just skipped this section.
It's just coming Sunday because it's a conference game. It's a conference
there you
game.
Go.
Conference play starts this weekend.
That's it. Thank you. Okay, so conference play starts this Saturday. Washington, USC, that's your first 2 top 25 teams tipping off. Number 22, Washington, number 18, USC. That's 8 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. And then not a conference game, but something that will be interesting next week. If you are interested in keep an eye on this, is always an interesting rivalry. Iowa and Iowa State, both of them ranked. Iowa right now number 11 and Iowa State number 10. All right, well, let's just go ahead and jump in, Jeff, and talk about our next opponent, which right now we'll only be covering one, and that is our first conference opponent, Illinois. So that game is Saturday, December 6th. It will be played in Champaign. The game is 12 o'clock Eastern, and it will be on Big Ten Network. It's going to be part of now I'm billing it as a triple header on Saturday. It's a big sports day for all of Indiana Hoosiers. So, Jeff, what little do you know about Illinois? I candidly have not watched them this year, so I only know a little bit of stats and numbers, but you want to talk to us a little bit about what you know?
Less than you. They're 7-1, as you mentioned. The lost to Oregon State. This is a whole new, for the most part, a whole new roster. All the people we're used to talking about have all graduated. This is a new roster. They're being led in the scoring right now by Barry Wallace with 18 a game, Gretchen Dolan with 13, and 2 others who are scoring in double figures. Their leading rebounders are Soraya Parchment with 8. And Barry Wallace was 7. So we'll say Barry Wallace at 18 and 7 is probably their best player at this point. And they're averaging 82 a game, only giving up 54. So, but I don't know much about them. I just haven't had a chance to watch much of, other than some of the national games. I really haven't. I watch IU on BTN Plus. I don't go hunting for a lot of other games on BTN Plus.
Right. I've been the same way, Jeff. So yeah, that 7-1, their only loss was to Oregon State. I'll look real quick what the score was of that game. I know Destiny Jackson, that name is familiar to me. And then of course, they did have Aaliyah Guyton transfer in from Iowa. Aaliyah has been coming off of the bench. Interesting. She missed a game. So I'm wondering if she got hurt somewhere in there, because outside of that, in her 7 games, she's been averaging 17 minutes and 7 points per game. So she seems productive. So I wouldn't think they would have just benched her for no reason unless she was injured. Typical Illinois, they have been playing a lot of people. They've had a number of players that have gotten into all 8 of their games, plus a couple other girls that have gotten into 7. So, they're playing a lot of players and stuff in their game. So I would expect, even though we might not recognize a lot of the names, I would expect that we'll see a similar style of play. So, pretty fast paced, 81 points. And I'm wondering with that Oregon State, maybe Oregon State was just able to slow them down, because that was by far their lowest scoring game at 59. All of their other games have been 70 or more, including a couple in the 90s and 100. Now, of course, they haven't played a whole lot of people. We don't have any common opponents. So I'm not quite sure what to expect from this game, but going into the road, I do expect it to be a tough place for us to go into. So tough challenge for our young team to start conference play.
No, but a chance to pick up a quality road win and for the net, because I think it's a winnable game. This to me will be where I hope Nevaeh Caffey, Phoenix Stowtime come into play, because this has been a team that we have struggled with containing their guards off the dribble, even any more than any other program. I would say it's been Illinois, and now the two guards we're talking about are gone now. So, but I imagine that they're going to play that same style. They're going to look to break us down off the dribble, and so this is where I'm really looking to see how much of an impact Nevaeh Caffey and Phoenix Stowtime can have in that regard.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, Jeff, are there anything that you're going to be looking from, again, understanding neither of us have seen Illinois play, but we have seen Indiana play quite a bit. Are there things from Indiana that you're wanting to see going into this game?
Coaching speak here, turnovers. We can't go over there and turn it over 20 plus times. You know, we got to keep that number down around 12, 13, 14 maybe. Can't go over there and turn. And then foul. Those will be the two big numbers I'm kind of looking at. The number of fouls and turnovers.
Yeah, that for me, it was fouls. And the second one I would really like to see is if we can keep Illinois off of the offensive glass, their offensive glass, and increase and improve our defensive rebounding. So, all right, Jeff. Well, shoot, look at us. We're super efficient. Why don't you give us our final thoughts? I'll give mine, and then we'll talk about what's up next for us.
Final thoughts. Wow. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I kind of said my final thoughts really kind of in my musings. Just, a good stretch. Played 4 games, went 3-1, and pretty much lost the one game that we thought we would lose. But we got into that game. We beat Gonzaga on that first round game to get into the championship game, rather than losing to Gonzaga and maybe beating Marquette in the consolation game. So I'm really pretty pleased with where this team is right now. 8-1, heading into conference play. And again, this is one of those where, again, if you can kind of go to Illinois and get a win here, you're at least going to feel like, first of all, you're 1-0 in the league, along with half the league, and you just kind of feel like you're one up because you won a game on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo a lot of that. And I'll have to say, I'm even more pleased than I thought I might be, because if anybody remembers from the prediction game, I expected us to have 3 losses at this point. So I am super pleased that we only have the 1. And, we look like we're gelling. I think, again, going into conference play, at least a little bit here in December before we go back to some non-conference games. Not only offensive rebounding, like I mentioned, trying to do better or keeping the other team from us. I want to see a little bit more and find that third scorer. I just think it would be nice if we can take some of the load off Lene and Shea. So those are my final thoughts for today, Jeff. So let's talk about what's up next. So as we mentioned, we will have one game against Illinois on Saturday. Before Jeff and I return. That's the only game between now and next Wednesday, December the 10th. So we will not have another marathon podcast where we're covering, 500 kabillion games. This will only be one. So we'll go over that Illinois, and we'll, in that game, podcast preview ULM and Eastern Michigan. But if you want to see us do the show live and be part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@backhome_network. You can also be part of our private community. Find out more at assemblycall.substack.com. Special thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing our logos. Thanks to Jeff for being here and being a fabulous co-host. Thank you to Bob Thompson for the music you heard through the broadcast, but most of all, thank you all for listening. We will be back to talk IU hoops with you again next week, but until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers. All right.
Let's hope we go 3-0 Saturday.
That sounds good to me. I love it. All right, Jeff. I think we should get out of here. I'm going to go turn the men's game on. I have been recording it, so I don't know anything about what's happened while we were talking. So I will talk to you next Wednesday, but yeah, hopefully we'll text about some victorious day on Saturday.
Yep. See you, Kathy. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Good night, all.
Night, everybody.